Good afternoon and good evening to all the participants. I think I am audible.
Yes, sir.
I think I have asked my scholar to display the screens. Yeah. Now, I'm extremely happy that every time when I begin the talk, that has become a norm now that the Vice Chancellor of our university set the ball rolling. And after giving the talk, I think he has made my task very easy. Though this assignment was given to me this morning and I was rather requested to step into the shoes of Dr. Rituraj Saikia, our Honorable President, I happily accepted this and I'm sure I think I can do justice to my assignment which is given to me. So I'm very happy that I have become a part of this FDP, application of research software in quantitative and qualitative research design. And my topic precisely will be on fundamentals of qualitative research design. The overview of my talk will be, I'll start with a prologue, discuss the definitions, and then move on to the key characteristics of qualitative research. Then I will deal with the 5 approaches in qualitative research: inquiry, research design, and finally, epilogue. So by way of prologue, I would say this particular qualitative research design is an exploratory approach to research. It makes one to explore, investigate a topic which they choose. It aims to understand the experiences, perspectives, and meanings of individuals or groups. So when you take a topic, whatever it is, whether it is a text or a topic in a particular area, or a topic in an educational institution, or a topic in the health concern, whatever it is, you understand the perspectives and meanings through your explorations. It is commonly used in humanities, social sciences, psychology, anthropology, and education. Qualitative research is used to understand how people experience the world. In other words, I would even say this a particular concept was founded by Dr. Paul Lassersfield in 1945 when he wanted to do research in the human behavior through psychology. Afterwards, lots of expositions, lots of research into qualitative research design. And today, we have umpteen number of books today to study qualitative research design. And of course, the pioneering writer is John Creswell, John Maxwell, and other people who contributed a lot of things to qualitative research design. So I'll take up the definitions first. The first definition I have taken from Denslin and Lincoln in their book on qualitative research. Qualitative research is situated actively that it locates the observer in the world. It is situated actively and that locates the observer in the world. Observation is an important component of qualitative research. So as I told you, it makes you see the world. The qualitative researcher uses the lens, qualitative research lens, to see the world what is happening. Or rather, we can be very specific, the phenomenon. They want to see the phenomenon. Qualitative research is an interpretative material practices that make the world visible. I mean, no, he actually explained the first point. The researcher brings out those problems or the topics which he investigates and bring to the world. He makes it visible. He makes it visible. And those practices transform the world. You get the gist of the research. Your research is society-oriented, and, it transforms the world. And they turn the world into a series of representations, including field notes, interviews, conversations, photographs, recordings, and memoirs to the self. I mean, a self-autobiography, self-resume, whatever it is. Memoirs, you note down whenever you take up a text for your research. At this level, qualitative research and interpretative naturalistic approach to the world. Interpretative naturalistic approach to the world. Please remember, social reality is always shaped by human experiences and social contexts. That is what he wants to say, that at this level, qualitative research is shaped by interpretative methods and also a naturalistic approach. You are doing it in the natural setting. The social context is very, very important to study the topic. This means that the qualitative researchers study things in their natural setting. That's what he said. It's a naturalistic approach. You choose a site, stay there, watch the behavior or the psychology of the people, and finally present the report. So, in their natural setting, attempting to make sense or interpret phenomena, that's a thing, being, in terms of meaning, people bring to them. So that's the first definition. If I sum up that explanation for the definition, qualitative research design is done in a natural setting and it brings the world to the people. That's all. And then second definition by John Creswell himself. Now, qualitative research begins with assumptions and the use of interpretative theoretical frameworks. Maybe earlier when I had given the talk of theoretical framework, I was insisting on how research, qualitative research is based on ontological nature, epistemological nature. You want to know what is being, and then you want to know through the knowledge devise what's happening there, right? So that is the theoretical framework. Or I can even advance an argument saying that the theoretical framework is a structure that supports your research, that holds your report to give a final report. In other words, I can even say it informs the study of research problems. Whenever you choose a topic, first of all, you take the research problems, addressing the meanings, individuals or groups, ascribed to a social argument problem. When you take up a topic, how do you go about? You assess, analyze the meanings given by the individuals or by the groups. Any problem. When I go to the other areas, I'll discuss examples how you can do it. So to study this problem, qualitative researchers use an emerging qualitative approach to inquire the collection of data. You know, this is one of the another important components of qualitative research. When you collect data and start analyzing data, things will start evolving. Things will start emerging. You may start with something, but through the process of doing the research, something new will develop and emerge, evolve, and so on, right? So the emerging qualitative approach to inquire the collection of data in a natural setting, sensitive to the people and places under study and data analysis, that is both inductive and deductive. What is inductive research or inductive reasoning? You have from a specific method, you go to the general method. In the deductive, from the general theory, you go to the specific method. And then you establish the pattern. The themes will emerge and pattern of theories. And the final report or presentation includes the voices of participants, those interviewers, those who participate in interview. You record their voices, reflexivity of the researcher. You reflect over what you have collected, and then you give a complex description. I'll tell you what is complex description later. And then you come out with the interpretation of the problem, and finally, contribution to the literature. In other words, it's a call for change. You take up an issue, you take up a problem, you take up an issue, and after your research, finally, you give a solution. What is that solution? You call for a change. That is John Creswell's definition. I would sum up the whole thing this way. Qualitative research is a multi-method in focus, involving an interpretative naturalistic approach to its subject matter. I have already discussed that. In an interpretive naturalistic approach to subject matter, qualitative research is opposed to empirical. No, it's a non-numerical method. So it is opposed to empirical data based on research. It is non-numerical method. It focuses on retaining rich meaning when you start interpreting the data. You go on gathering, accumulating lots of meaning when you dig deeper into the data you have collected. And remember, it is largely subjective. When I say largely subjective, I can take two examples. One from the sociology, the other one from literature. Now, for example, if you want to do a research in inter-caste marriages, the perception of youth regarding this in the inter-caste-based villages or caste-based villages or casteist villages, how do you do this? You will base on case studies. I'll come to that, case studies. That is one example. It is a subjective thing. Second thing is, from a literature point of view, if you take the study of the use of myths in Girish Karnad plays, all of you know very well, I think there are lots of researchers who must be here participating from the Department of English. There they know Girish Karnad's plays is completely constructed on myths and folk tales of India, especially Nathamandala and Hayavadana. It talks about male chauvinism. It talks about oppression of women. It talks about patriarchal hegemony. How does he use that? Today, most of you must have watched lots of movies, even Kandara, which has come in different languages. Kandara talks about that folk tale. And there are lots of things, even Karnan in Tamil Nadu. Kandara all over India that has been filmed. All these talk about the folk tales of India and bring out qualitative research methodology. So that can be an example. You can take a film also for qualitative research. You can bring out those things. So with this background of definition and the explanation, I would like to move on to the characteristics of qualitative research. Of course, there are lots of characteristics, but I would like to take up the key characteristics of qualitative research. Number one, it is conducted in a natural setting. That is there already in the definition. The researchers collect data in the field, on the site, conducts face-to-face interviews of the participants. And when you have a problem in a particular village, they go there, stay there, and they observe the participants' issue. Slowly, they understand the issue of the problem. Please remember, like empirical method, they do not bring the individuals to the laboratory, nor do they use the instruments to complete the survey. No. They prepare the instruments, but not others, okay? And they talk directly to the participants. And they see them behave and act within their context. As I told you, within their context, they go there, stay there in the field and watch what's happening, observe the behavior, and then apply this in qualitative research. Second point is that, the researcher himself is a key instrument. He is the sole instrument, I would even say. He directly examines people. He, reads the documents by himself. He observes the behavior of the participants directly, conducts other video or audio recordings. And, in his instrument, whatever survey questionnaire he prepared, he uses open-ended questions. I think all the literary students know what is an open-ended question. It gives ample chances for further building up of the answers. Not closed, but open-ended questions, And he does not use other researchers' instruments, surveys or other reviews of other researchers. He is the key instrument as far as his research is concerned. And he uses multiple methods. Qualitative researcher does not rely on a single method. They use interview methods. They use observations. They dissect the documents related to the events of the action. I would even use the word, they deconstruct the documents. And then media reports. They take up all those things. Multiple methodologies being used. Then they review the data. And of course, the next point is, it involves a complex reasoning. You can go to the next slide. It involves a complex reasoning. What is that complex reasoning? Complex reasoning through inductive and deductive methods, or inductive and deductive reasoning. Inductive, as I told you, from the general to the specific, from the specific to the general, here general to the specific. So inductive from themes to data banks. See, there are themes, there are theories. From there, they go to a strategy. This is called bottom-up strategy. Goes from the down to up, bottom-up strategy. Or the researcher will be working back and forth, right? And then they set up a complex comprehensive theme or a pattern for the research process. And please remember, throughout the research process, they use this complex reasoning, because if you are very deep in the research, when you start something in the beginning and then go, for example, if you are using memory and trauma as one of the topics, last week we had lots of articles on memory and trauma, they go up, they go back, they come forward, and then, there is a kind of a comprehensive analysis. And then it focuses on the participants' perspective, their views, multiple, but subjective. See, if you take up one particular participant, of course, you collect a lot of things, but each participant's view is subjective. And also meanings. You get lots of meanings for them, which you don't even expect. They give a different kind of meaning for their views. So, you can say that researchers rely on the participants' view of problems or issues. They rely on the participants. Next comes the researcher, his reflexivity and all that. Or he reflects over what the data he has collected, right? So please remember, views of the problems are issued not on the researchers or writers' texts. For example, when you take the text of a particular novelist, let's say, a war novel, or a novel from the United States of America, Color Purple, or Kill a Mockingbird, you don't bother about the writers. The writer is dead. The author is dead. That's a theory. You are giving your cognitive feeling when you read that particular novel or the text. And you collect the secondary sources of what others have said about the writings. That is how you rely on the participant perspectives. So participants' views lead to multiple perspectives on a topic, or you get diverse views. That is why you have multiple views. For example, the recent Coromandel Express accident, you must have seen that 3 trains came and knocked against each other, and lots of people died. If you go on the site and start taking the participant's view, you will have a different perspective. The government perspective will be different. Finally, at the end of the collection, there will be somebody who will say it's a sabotage. It's a sabotage. So you see how your research gets changed from the beginning till end and all that. No, this is what you are supposed to expect. The participants will lead to multiple perspectives. And the next point is, it is situated with the context. It's a social problem. It's a political problem. It's a historical, within the context. You go there and then you study the situation within the context. Now there are two tribals who are fighting, maybe, and the other cookie. What's happening? Only when we go onto the site, no, that's a social side. Of course, there is a political background. And of course, historically, what has happened? This is the beautiful example, that Manipur incident there, between the 2 tribes. And of course, when you go on collecting the data, the next point is, next characteristic is, it involves an evolving model, a design, rather than a tightly free-figured design. No, you can't have it like that. The more you delve deep into a particular social problem, new things will emerge, new things will evolve. The research process for quality research is emergent. It comes up. Any text you take, for example, in the beginning, you go on reading the secondary sources. Towards the end, a new design will emerge, evolve, right? There may be a change in the question also. You may have research questions in the beginning, but slowly when you see what is developing in your research process, you may have to even change the question, right? So these researchers insist on the best practices to collect information. And the next point or the next characters I would like to discuss is the reflexivity and interpretation. The researchers position themselves in a qualitative research design. That means the researcher wants to convey in the method section or in the introduction itself or in the other places of study how he was involved or how he was invited or how he was compelled to take up this research. What is his background in doing this research? What is his work experience? What is his cultural experience? What is his history? Something must have happened during his studies or during his tenure as a professor. He would have got something and then it must have worked up in his mind. He would have done. That means we are sensitive to the biography of the identity, the social identity of the researcher, and how it informs the interpretations, the information in the study of what they have to gain from the study. You see, I still remember when I went for a community program in Ramnath, Varshanath, I saw the women children, the child infants were killed, and the Dalit children were killed. There was a big divide. The caste is divide. That made me look into the whole thing, and I did my research in Dalit consciousness and the black African American racial divide. That made me that. So somewhere in some part of it, you will get a clue how to go about the research. That makes that reflexivity and the interpretative method. Walcott beautifully says, our researchers have the right to know about us and what prompted our interest in the topics we investigate, to whom we are reporting, and what we personally stand to gain. And finally, it presents a holistic, complex picture. Why holistic, organic whole, of course, and then why it's a complex picture? Because the problem under study is given a different perspective by different participants. That means it involves a multiple perspective, identifying many factors involving in a situation. So generally, the research sketches the larger picture that emerges. Researchers are not bound by the strict cause and effect relationship. It's because of this particular thing happened. This is the cause and this is the effect. No, there are other things also when you go deeper into that problem. And you can always say you should have a complex interactions of factors of any situation. So these are the key characteristics of the qualitative research design. That makes me move to the 5 approaches of qualitative research inquiry. Number 1 is narrative approach. There are many approaches, but I'll confine myself to 5 basic approaches. Number 1 is narrative approach. What is that narrative approach? Narrative approach, has got many forms by using a variety of analytic practices. It is rooted in social and humanities discipline. Narrative, of course, simply as storytelling, narrative techniques, narrative theories, plenty of books, narrative theories and all that. So, today, mostly the researchers are using this narrative technique in the texts they analyze. What is that behind the narrative technique? What are the things which come up because we analyze the narrative technique of an author? What are the things which are coming up? So narrative might be a phenomenon which you want to study. For example, you take up a narrative of illness, or when you take up a narrative of illness, illness is the phenomenon, and you study that phenomenon. Or it might be a method used to study such as procedures for analyzing stories told. There, you have been told in the text, what is the story? For example, you take Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Jan, as a small girl, she was locked up in a room by her uncle. Why? You begin to study why the particular girl was locked and what happened to her in the room. Of course, I give a classical example of Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, right? And then as a mother, it begins with the experience that expressed in lived and told story. Lived and told. You have lived and you have experienced and you are narrating that lived experiences. So please remember, the procedures for implementing this research consist of focusing one or two individuals gathering data through the collection of their stories, reporting individual experiences, and chronologically ordering the meaning of that story. Creswell says this is what we call life course stages. Life course stages. Everywhere. You are a child, you become an adult, and you become a middle-aged man or woman, whatever it is, old age, whatever it is. So this life course stages, you have got lots of stories to say, and that has to be analyzed. So how do they do it? They collect stories from individuals. They collect stories from individuals. Number one. Number two, it may be collected from the documents you have. Or you can collect from the group of individuals' conversation. People, they will be talking about some particular incident which has happened in the village or the town, whatever it is. They'll say that. So you can collect that narrative from the people or from a group. And, the researcher will also have a co-constructor between the researcher and the participant. There will be an agent. He can also talk. He can be called a co-constructor. Or a story in it as a performance which conveys a message. For example, we have a dramas in our village festival. Or I can even take Shakespeare, Hamlet. There is a play within the play. The play gives the message that Polonius had killed the king. That gives the message. So they're all techniques they follow. Even the playwrights follow this, right? So when you have the co-constructiveness as the participant, it becomes a collaborative event, collaborative feature of a narrative research. It comes through the dialogue or interactions. So narrative stories tell of individual experiences, or it sheds light on the identities, the social identity, the society's identity. Is the village president, or is the village sarpanch? He is a man who has been oppressed by castes. I don't know how many of you have seen the latest movies where, some people cannot sit in front of others. That's the kind of identity they have, the social identity. They cannot sit in front of caste people. If from Maharashtra, if you take Baburao Ragul's stories, you will understand the Dalits cannot sit in front of the high caste people. Okay? So, there you can see how they see themselves. When you analyze narrative research, you can see how they see themselves. So narrative stories are collected through different forms of data, interviews, observations, documents, pictures, or other sources of qualitative data. And narrative stories are often heard and shaped by the researchers in their chronological event. They may talk about the past, present, and also their future, chronological, right? And narrative stories are analyzed in varied ways. Analysis can be thematic, it can be structural, it can be dialogical. A theme will emerge, the structure will emerge, the plot, character development, the denouement, what's happening at the end. And the dialogic performance, you talk, dialogic, and all that. So narrative stories contain many turning points. Sometimes, you begin the journey and, something, the road is missing, a turning point. Your vehicle is missing, turning point, right? You lose track of your path, finished, all right? So please remember all these things, the turning point occur within the specific places and situation. That is why context becomes very, very important in narrative research. I would like to cite some examples wherein you can apply narrative research under qualitative research design. Number one, to study the various tribal communities in North region states. Let's take up Nagaland. Angama tribes, our tribes, other tribes and all that. There are plenty of tribes. There are around 23 tribes. You can go on doing it, fine. And then in the field of medicine, how doctors communicate to the patient when he is at the end of his life care. Just see, an old man is about to die, or a young man is about to die. He's on the bed. How does a doctor treats the patient? It's a beautiful narrative. And then, if you take African countries, take the relationship between music and social change in Africa. Music today plays a vital role, crucial role for a social change in African countries. Beautiful narrative research. And differences between the emotions experienced by different generations in Japanese society, Indian society, Tamil Nadu society, North Indian society. How do they react? How does the emotion come up when they see the generational divide? These are examples for narrative research. Next, I take up the phenomenological research. Phenomenological research, if that is narrative research, talks about the told experiences, it talks about lived experiences. Lived experiences of several individuals. Phenomenologists focus on the common experience of a phenomena. They focus on the common experience of the phenomena. For example, grief. Grief is a universal experience. When you lose someone, you lose a beloved, or there is a big loss in your family, grief is an universal experience. The human experience may be a phenomena such as insomnia, a disease, being left out in the family, anger, grief, or when you want to undergo a bypass surgery. That's a phenomenon. Everybody will come and inquire, what's happening? Right? That kind of a thing. And these experiences say what is happening and how it is happening, or what they experience and how they have experienced. Right? So please remember, phenomenological research has a very strong philosophical component to it. That component is from Edmund Husserl, the German philosopher, who talks on this phenomenological views of the people. Edmund Husserl is a pioneering researcher as far as phenomenological research is concerned. And of course, the views were expanded by Heidegger, Martin Heidegger, Sartre, and Martin Ponti. Of course, there's a big thing. Of course, most of the literature students, when they take up the theory, they use Heidegger, Edmund Husserl, Sartre, and Martin Ponti, and all those people. Whenever you take up the phenomenological research, it ends with a description that is the essence of the experience of the people. Essence of the people. You know, recently I was preparing a paper on blue sea humanity. There, whatever when they venture into the sea, what's happening? Maybe people have a different experiences and all that. Sometimes they have to face death in the storm and all that, or when the boat is upside down or the ship is upside down. But finally, the essence of the tragedy is said. So you apply phenomenological research into this, events which happen in the sea. I think recently we had that conference in Trondheim, Blue Sea Humanity, there the paper was presented like that way, right? So please remember that the essence of the experience will tell you what and how they experience. The essence is the culminating story of phenomenology. I would even cite some examples for phenomenology as experience of a war veteran or a war survivor. Interview him, you'll understand what was his experience. Or, during the break of your diseases like COVID and all that, if you had lost a member in the family, how do you experience that? Or what is it to be diagnosed in your life? You have become a parent. Just 1 month back, you have got a child and you have got a married life for more than a year. And you are diagnosed with the cancer and you're going to die. What kind of a feeling you have? That is phenomenological research. Or, you just take up a woman in the maternal ward. Just find out from their nurses, what's the feeling of that woman? It's a rebirth. After the birth of the child, it's a rebirth for the woman. And then racism and casteism in the workplace. How it becomes a casteist divide, racist divide in their workplace. So that makes him move to the next important research theory, grounded theory. What is grounded theory? Grounded theory moves beyond the description and generate or discover a theory. It is grounded. The theory is there. It develops theory inductively. Inductively from the general to the specific, right? And then it gives a unified theoretical explanation. It develops a systematic theory to explain the process, action, or interaction. It is generated or grounded from the participant who have processed the experience of a particular event. That is there. That is already established, right? So how do you do that? First thing is we have a constructivist grounded theory. Constructivist grounded theory. How do we go about that? What is that constructivist grounded theory? Conversations about procedures. There is an event in a village. You talk about those, you build up those things, and there's a structure in their conversation. And the procedures evolve, procedures emerge. And this particular theory has flourished in sociology, where communities come together to live. In the nursing department, nurses coming together, educational institutions. It is already there. Something is being introduced, improvised upon what is grounded there. And of course, psychology and also social science. You can use grounded theory research. Examples: why employees are frustrated in a workplace, in a factory, in an educational institution. Why are they frustrated? What's happening there? No, you can use grounded theory research. In marketing departments, marketing executives views how to improve their products or how to improve their services in a structured way. And the third one, how to create a logo to develop or improve a product sales. Now, these are all grounded things because it is already there and you have to build upon what is being there and all that. So that makes me move on to the ethnographic theory or ethnographic research theory, whatever it is. The description and interpretation of the shared and learned pattern of values, behaviors, beliefs, and language of culture sharing groups are being defined as an ethnography, ethnic, and all that. So the participants' observation and immersion of the researchers into the day-to-day life of the participant will make an ethnographic here. It makes an ethnographic here. That's why. Ethnography begins with the comparative cultural anthropology. All of you know what is anthropology, about the basic communal studies and all that. So it's a comparative cultural anthropology. And Walcott, in his book, he has written a book called, the title of the book itself, Ethnography as a Way of Seeing. Ethnography as a way of seeing. You see what's happening there and how it develops and all. So examples are, an anthropologist goes to Andaman and Nicobar Islands and he wants to study some of the tribals in the island. You can't even meet them. In Andaman and Nicobar Island, there are tribes. You cannot easily meet them. So you have to go there, live there, stay with them, become very friendly, and then finally study about those people. Yes, together they are there, but still, slowly you have to go sit with them and then study. Finally learn what their ethnic situation is. It should be done with a sustained observation and participation. Now you take up the next one, bringing culture of the youth today. You choose some of the participants. Why do they start bringing? Come on, study that. You will find out a lot of reflections. Or, you have kindergartens in a natural setting. Kindergarten schools, how do they have, the playway methods and all that? But what is the development technology for children today? What is the development technology you use? There are lots of development technologies today for the kindergarten children that can be taken up for ethnographic research. And finally, the fifth one, the case study research. It involves the study of case within the real life contemporary context or settings. A real life situation. You take up the case. It's a case within the bounded system, bounded by time and place. It is there in a village or even in the cities, wherever it is. Okay. So how do you collect data for case studies? Data collection involves multiple sources of information. Case studies. Case studies are already there. So Creswell says this way, if it is a multiple cases, it can be called multi-site. M-U-L-T-I-S-I-T, multi-site. If it is a single case, it is within site. Okay. So that's how you have to collect multiple studies. What are the examples for case study? You follow some war veterans to study PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. If you take up Ishiguro's novels of the war novels, the memory plays, the parents have missed lots of people as soldiers, and those people who have come back from the warfare, what is their psychological phenomena? That is PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. You can use case studies. So studying students who are suffering from depression, struggling with depression, what will you do with them? Come on, you can have the case study research. And today, take the anxiety of a teenager following a natural disorder. He loses everyone in the family. And what happens? Anxiety is an abstract word. You can use it for your case study research. So that makes me move on to the research design. Of course, as far as qualitative research design, nobody comes with a uniform design, because there are lots of books writing on research designs, but though they vary in their research design, the collection of data and analysis of data, there is a kind of a uniformity, which I'm going to discuss. So what is the research design? Is a means or the plan for conducting the study, conducting the research. John Creswell, in his book Qualitative Inquiry and Research Design, talks about 3 components in conducting the qualitative research. Number 1, preliminary consideration. Before you take up a topic or a problem or issue, whatever it is, what are the preliminary considerations? Preliminary considerations, they carry certain design principles to conduct qualitative research. Simply said, it is a common design principle. Okay? So this falls within the premises of a scientific study. So what is a scientific study for a research? You start with a research problem. The moment you finalize a topic, then you take up the research problem. What are the research questions? All right? And then, you evolve a hypothesis. Or a research, you ask a question. What, how, where, and all that. What is happening there in the school? What is happening in the village? What is happening to the youth? How does the youth face these challenges in the village? Use how and why and all that, fine. And start collecting the data. So there is a kind of a, let us say, bank loans being given to a village, and they have not paid. Start collecting the data. What's happening? Why they have not paid the loan and all that? Go there. Stay with the villagers. First-hand knowledge of talking to them. Or, you prepare an instrument, a survey, collect the data. And finally, analyze the results and the discussion. How do you go about the discussion? The findings based on the results. Why? The poverty may be the important reason why they have not paid. But there are other reasons for not paying the money back to the bank. So he goes on to say that he uses a beautiful phrase for this particular research. He says, when they collect or when they involve in the process, there emerges a methodological congruence. Methodological congruence. What is that methodological congruence? The purpose, the questions, and the methods of research, the methodology, are interconnected, and it's an organic whole. It should be followed intently or meticulously. Remember the concept of methodology congruence. From the first page till the end of your research, the method should be congruent. There should not be any disruption. It should be a research question should lead to methods of research, right? And that's how your results and findings should come. The second component he talks about is steps in the process. Steps in the process. It's a broad assumption to bring it under an interpretive lens. Steps in the process. You have already decided the topic, which is to be explored, which is to be investigated, which is to be analyzed, which is to be deconstructed. There must be a substantive area for investigation. You must find out. Of course, that's why there is always a comprehensive literature review. If you take a particular author, go to the literature review and see what are the topics which have been done in this particular author. What are the articles which have been already published on that particular author? Then you choose something innovative, new, which is coming up. So please remember, under the steps in the process, the researcher conducts a rigorous data collection, secondary sources or other data. You go use this interview process or documents and all that. Data through interviews and focus group. What is that focus? A group, which you have identified in a particular place where you go and ask for interviews, ask for the survey questionnaires and all that. Then you observe. The observation is a very important component. You go sit there, live with them, find out how they behave in their place of living. And the document analysis. What do you mean by document analysis? Document analysis of all your news, magazines, journal reports, right? TV news and all those things. So please remember, interviews and focus groups allow researchers to collect data about the participants' experience, perspectives, and beliefs. Because, you personally ask the questions. The group of people are there. Or, they can be called target groups. You fix the target groups and go and ask those questions and all. Observation involves observing the participant on their natural setting. I told you in the beginning, in their environment, and taking notes on their behavior and interactions. There are authors who have gone to the forest, and then they were talking to the tribals when the government wanted to vacate the forest for them. There are lots of novels based on that. How they have to face those challenges and all that, right? So, taking notes on their behavior, this is an important thing. Or you record what you are talking to them, what you have heard. Or, you take the diary accounts of that. There may be some diaries there. Or, you can have the audio recordings, right? And then transcript of whatever they have recorded, spoken in their tape recorders. So that makes you move to the analysis. Document analysis. Document analysis involves documents such as government reports, newspaper articles, and other organizational records. The researchers focus on the study within the characteristics of qualitative research. I was listing some important characteristics, starting in the natural setting and the researcher as a kinsman, so on. No, you can involve those things in the natural setting, and then you become the key instrument and all that. And the researcher can use one of the 5 approaches as per the topic. You have chosen a topic, whether narrative research fits it, whether phenomenological research fits it, whether case study research fits it, grounded theory, ethnography, or whether the particular that fits in there and all that. So the researcher begins with a single focus in the beginning or a concept. That particular single focus of the concept is being explored throughout the process of research. And remember, the researcher uses a persuasive method. He makes the people talk. He makes the people share their experience. That concept is called being there, being there. Or it can be called a verisimilitude. That means being believable. Whatever you give, it should be believed by people. Being believable, verisimilitude. Of course, it's a big topic. I can go on talking about that, but because of the time constraint, I say it is being believable. It is believable, verisimilitude. So the study reflects the history, culture, and personal experiences, autobiography. Why autobiography? As I told you in the beginning, the researcher's autobiography is very, very important because he has to say why he took up this particular topic, because why he was interested, why he was compelled to do this particular thing, why he was forced to take up this particular issue to bring out a solution. So finally, you can say data analysis involves interpreting the data collected and identifying a theme. There will be a theme which is coming up. And then there will be a pattern which will be coming, a common interest will emerge. And how is it done? It is done through coding. What is coding? What is coding in the data analysis? You collect everything and then, you segment the, what you call the data, and finally apply the coding inductively or deductively, and then you start giving the label for each segment. And the researcher gives a segment this way. For example, if you're taking up the food eating habit in a city, in a village, you take up a hotel, a restaurant, then you talk about food which is being eaten and all that. Or if you take up the cooking, another label, you can say it's a recipe they follow in their hotels, right? So please remember, there is always a recurring theme when each participant gives you the data, and that can come under this particular. And I go on the last element of all phases of research. Please remember, from the traditional approach, qualitative research design goes to the scientific approach. It is a scientific premise on which you are doing qualitative research. And remember, you ought to be ethical when you have to have that ethical consideration. Number one, when you start doing the research, there is always an institutional review board. Get the permission from the university. Get the permission from the research center of the university and start doing that ethical conversation. And it is important to disclose, you want to do a research of the tribe in a particular area, go to those people, talk to them what you are going to do, disclose your mode of research, and let there not be confusion regarding what they are going to tell you now. That finally, please remember, I would like to just take one strength and one limitation. The strength of the qualitative research is its ability to provide rich, detailed data about individuals' experience, perspectives, and meanings. Today, qualitative research design is on the move everywhere because it gives lots of rich data about the issues or the text that they take up for analysis. But the limitation is, it is time consuming. Of course, it is resource intensive or labor intensive. So by way of epilogue, I would like to sum up the whole thing saying that a well-planned research with proper research aims, qualitative methods, questioning methods, and the right process of analyzing the data and right process of giving the results and the findings will make your research, qualitative research, stand the test of time. Thank you very much for listening patiently. Thanks a lot. Thanks once again.